Hello and welcome to another episode of Community Update. I am Modele Akintokun.
Community Update is brought to you with the support of the following organizations, businesses and individuals: Heritage Canada, Canadian Association of Community Television Users and Stations, Cactus, Baleo, M4 Media, and Shokoto.
In the pursuit of educational advancement, personal enrichment, or both, international students often face a wide variety of challenges. Miles away from the comfort of the only home many have ever known, the students find themselves grappling with issues ranging from academic pressure to cultural adjustments. And if you are currently studying in Nova Scotia, you can add housing to that list. All these create a tapestry of experiences that many find both enriching and demanding. To shed some light on this matter, all the way from Cape Breton University, CBU, Omon Iyoriobhe is back with us in the studio. Omon, you are welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good to be here.
The first time that you were here, it was virtual, and I remember that you shared with us some background, some of your educational background. You hold a Bachelor of Science in Public Health, and you have a master's degree in demography and social statistics.
Yeah.
And the CBU adventure has been in a post-baccalaureate diploma in healthcare management.
Absolutely, yes, that's correct. Yes, it's been quite a ride. But
How much more of the journey do you have left on your?
I graduate in May 2024. So considering that it's a 2-year course,
Yeah.
I'm counting down.
In your experience, what would you say are the top 3 challenges faced by international students, and how can they navigate them or be prepared to navigate them?
That's a really interesting one. I think that the first challenge that international students will face would be, number 1 would be housing, and number 2 would be work. And you know this even before international students actually come into the province. The moment they're ready to come in, they've gotten their visas. When they chat you up or they're reaching out to you, the questions are really housing, is there work, what's the place like? And so I think that housing stays on the top of that list, work stays at the top of that list, and maybe the number 3 would be, sense of community and, what's the social texture of that environment really is a concern. And maybe I know a number of people, and you've seen videos online.
Right.
This is not particular to Nova Scotia, but then you've seen videos online where international students who've come into the country have done videos lamenting the case of loneliness,
Yes.
lamenting the cases of, anxiety and being alone, and looks like, and I think, it's all valid, and the many criticisms to be heard, and there are many things to be said, but then really, I think it would be, number 1 would be work, housing, and then loneliness. That's something I think, will be top 3 challenges. Yeah.
So how would you advise them to prepare to tackle housing, for instance?
Housing. So so ahead of time, planning definitely. If you plan ahead of time, you definitely resolve a number of challenges. Really,
Right.
I think that in case of Cape Breton University, CBU has actually been very proactive in telling students, so you know what, it's better to secure, if you have secured your visa, it's better to secure housing before you come in. Don't come in unless you secure housing.
Right.
And of course, that's a symposium discussion because people will still come in.
Yes.
And then, but really, I think that it helps to plan ahead of time for housing. If you have 2 months in, 3 months before your visa, talk to people who are within the province, get housing, secure that, because so that you can, so that even regardless of the problems that you face, at least you get to go to bed.
Right, which is very important.
So with your problems, you go
Yeah.
to bed with your problems. You wake up to a brand new day. Hopefully you find the balance to tackle the other aspects of life.
But
you
worst
need a
case
place,
scenario.
get a bed and a place to stay. That's important. So I think that it helps if you do that early.
Okay.
Ahead of time, reach out, get that. You get sorted, yeah.
Okay, so then how do we tackle work? The next.
So for me, the work situation is really, what I tell people is really, be prepared ahead of time. And it all still comes down to preparation. And it just says that, and when people have said that when opportunity meets preparation, we call it luck, right? Because what it means is that even where we are right now, wherever you are trying to come into the country, to come to Canada to study, what you want to do is to actually be sure that you are developing yourself. Be sure that you are versatile. Be sure that you have some things you can do on your own. Be sure that you are able to reinvent yourself in an economy that's different from what you're used to. Be able to, be sure that the idea then is to maintain flexibility.
Right.
That you sort of take the position of, of adaptability, which is an essential human factor.
It is.
You come into the economy, see what the economy needs at the time, see what you're going to be able to, what value you're able to draw from that and add, and adjust to that. And be flexible enough to adjust. So if you're going to be making hair, if you're going to be sewing, because I think there's a gap for those stuff. I think there's a gap for that stuff. And so sometimes people also come and think about work, but then I've also met some people who came into the province and decided not to even work. And they just, doing little business on the side, and they're trying to, they're making ends meet. And they focus on their academics, but they're addressing those issues until they finish school.
Right.
They're meeting those values. So I think that flexibility is one. Also be prepared from your home country. Learn skills, useful skills that you can serve, because certain skills are transferable across the world. It's not limited to geography. So, for example, programming is a useful skill regardless of where you are. Computer programming. Data analysis is a useful skill regardless of where you are.
Correct.
Accounting is a useful skill regardless of where you are. Carpentry is a useful skill regardless of where you are.
Yes.
Now, of course, you may need certifications in this province, but then, you can definitely go along those lines and find, volunteering opportunities to showcase your skills and all that. So I think that, that's important. So to say, be flexible enough when you come in. So now you come in, don't assume that you would actually just do the work you used to. You may need to change for a season.
Right.
And then adjust and proceed from there.
To your point about reinventing or being prepared to reinvent yourself.
Exactly, very key. Right. And then the third one, the loneliness, that's one that I have been fortunate not to experience. And I think the reason I did it because I also have heard, before I came into Canada, I'd listened to people talk about their stories about how people are lonely, how it's a lonely place, get lonely. So I determined in my heart to address it ahead of time. I knew that I could not be caught unguarded.
So what was your secret?
What was my secret? You want to hear my secret?
Yes.
Okay, so I think my secret really for me was the fact that two things that I did. The first time I landed in Canada on a Friday. Yeah, on a Friday. It was a winter, snowy Friday.
And you're coming all the way from the tropics.
Exactly.
Nice and warm and colorful with all the
I'm telling you. And funny thing is that when I landed in Montreal, I got out of the airport, the first wind that took me, I went straight back in. I said, this is not it. And then I came back, I said, you know what? I said I want to come to Canada. This is it. So I'll brave the storm. And then I came in and I landed in Sydney and it was a Friday. So the next thing I did, on a Sunday, I found a church, found a community. It's the very next thing I did, and it was very helpful. Shout out to my people in Sydney. It was a very helpful community, and it was very useful because I met people there. At best, what would happen is, and normally I find that sometimes I like to meet people, but also there are other times where I actually like to be on my own. Right. But you see, Sundays give you a time to actually meet people. And maybe it doesn't matter what you're saying, maybe you're just taking pictures together, you're laughing together, somebody shares a job opportunity in church, somebody talks about what is happening in school, and you're just part of a community. Because you see, human beings were made to connect.
So you're networking intentionally, and you're taking the first step in doing that.
Exactly, and going to the place where people are.
Exactly.
Don't isolate yourself.
Right.
Don't stay at home and say, I don't have friends. No. Go where people are. It's the person who shows himself friendly that would have friends.
And that's a fact. Yeah. Right. So what would you say in addition to these, because these are very vital points, what would you describe as some key factors that contribute to adapting successfully? Now, there's two kinds of adaptation that I'm thinking of here. Adapting to the academic system, which will probably be different from, other systems abroad, and then adapting culturally, to a new culture, new environment.
So I think in terms of adjusting to the academic environment. I'll speak to that, and I'll speak to adjusting culturally and socially. I think one of the key factors that will help with adjusting to the academic environment is really flexibility. And also, it still comes back to that, where you need to know that, yes, you've studied in your country, regardless of if you studied in India, Nigeria, Ghana, and your educational system may be slightly different. In many cases, similar, but there are slight differences.
Right.
For example, there's more use of technology here now. You need to adjust to that.
Yeah.
You need to know, and I know this is a struggle, but thankfully it comes back to community. If you have people around you who are going to help you with technology use, if, for example, there's something you don't know, you just simply ask your friend who's living next door to you, I need to have access to this, I need to have access to this. And they help you out, And so it comes to flexibility and also learning new tools. Just the willingness to learn.
Right.
And also show up to class. You can't say that you are missing classes and expect to pass. I mean, you have to show up to class.
That's simple logic. Yeah.
But you see, as simple as that is, there are people who think they can just not show up to class, do the assignments, show up to class, show up. You feel cold, you feel tired. I get it, but show up to class. It's very key.
Right. Very important. So to adapt academically, just basically be open to new tools.
Yeah. And
show up. Okay. So we've heard the new academic adaptation tips. So what about the cultural adaptation tips now?
Yeah, so I think that, for cultural adaptation, it's really, when I came in, what worked for me was the fact that I determined to be open. And what that meant is that you did not leave your home country to come into another country to be the same person. You definitely knew that you're going to meet new experiences.
Yes.
And I was open to that. So what it means is that you meet new food.
Yeah.
You made new music.
Yes.
You made new people.
Right.
And that was key. And so that openness allowed me to then embrace the culture. So for example, I embraced diversity. And what that meant wasn't just that, I had classmates that were from other cultures. No, it meant that if they were eating and we had team building activities or teamwork, I would eat their food. I may not have, enjoyed it because I wasn't used to it, but I did
at least
eat
be willing to try.
Yes, and I did it, and I did enjoy some, to be fair, so it's that really also being in that place. Don't only go to, because there's only, for example, certain culture, the African community is still growing in certain areas, but there are other communities, and you must sort of, open your boundaries a little bit and to say that, I'm within Canada and I'll be willing to actually explore and just be open to be welcoming, be welcoming to another culture, interact, be curious. It's important to be curious, to ask questions, be determined to know about other cultures. Because it will shock you to know that you are not just the one that exists in your bubble. There are other bubbles.
Right.
And you may want to get into other.
Very true.
So yeah, that's important.
So if you were exploring a lot and learning about other cultures and different aspects of food and stuff, how would you describe the social relations? I'd say maybe international students versus local students, or even just a cross-cultural environment. What's your take?
It's really exciting because what it means is that what I've found is that, coming into, because I went for a music festival the other day.
Okay.
And in a music festival, it was not just, it was an Afrobeat musician, right? But it wasn't just Afrobeats or Africans that were there.
Right.
It was other people from other cultures who came to experience that. And you seeing that, people are actually, you've been enriched by your shared experience. You share this moment together. It's really enriching. And so for me, I think, it's really, there's no disparity really. It's almost as like there's a really good flow between local students and international students. I mean, of course, there's just, the fees, but otherwise there's nothing else.
Which no one discusses anyways.
We don't want to talk about that, but it's fine. It's fine.
Right. Okay, so that sounds like a plus for international students looking to come in. The environment is friendly and cross-cultural.
It is.
Okay.
Likely so.
What support networks are you aware of that are available that you can recommend? You did talk about church, for instance, for like maybe religious gatherings. Are there any others support networks, physical or virtual, that you would advise international students to look into?
So yes, absolutely. I do know that, for example, I think the province of Nova Scotia has launched mental health support channel where there's
Okay.
a phone number to call. I know that exists. I know that I've heard someone talk about that. So yeah, there's that. There's also within the school system, there's also different communities where you can engage, where you can interact. There's also school on its own. Your school has activities happening.
Right.
Sometimes activities around entrepreneurship, sometimes activities around culture, sometimes games nights. Be involved in those stuff, and it really just helps you to actually sort of, balance stuff out. And that, so for me, the church, mosques, religious organizations, also there are certain non-profit organizations that organize. I know there's CBICI back in Sydney that organizes people towards a particular goal. It helps with different things around employment. And there's also those little groups that are helping.
Okay.
There's more to do, but there are those groups that exist. I mean, I, for one, wanted to actually, interestingly, I wanted to start a book club.
Really?
So, yeah, I wanted to start a book club, but then that idea floated. If anyone's watching me now, some people have registered already.
Oh.
I haven't gotten back to them. Hopefully, after this show, I'll get back to them.
Oh, that's interesting. So, I mean, if your book club didn't serve you, who knows, it might serve new students coming in.
Exactly.
Or existing students.
It's always nice to just share ideas. You
Yes.
find that when you share ideas, you sort of rekindle flames.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you have the right conversations, you and your life will move in the right direction. That's what I find. So
Right.
yeah, it's key.
Okay. And it sounds from some of the items you've mentioned that it would be very wise and helpful for students to keep their eye or have their finger on the search engine of the internet all the time.
Absolutely.
To be able to find these resources.
Absolutely. And also sometimes go to the local places, the city hall. You want to go there. If you're in a place like Sydney, for example, go to City Hall. If you're in Antigonish, go to City Hall. There are things happening there. The locals are having conversations, and they're really excited that we're there. So go to City Hall. They're setting announcements. Join also their websites that are for the city and where they post relevant information. It's also a good place to be.
Okay.
That's what I found, yeah.
Well, I mean, you're rounding off your course, so you're definitely thinking about settling down, employment, and all that. What advice? I like that smile, but we won't get into it. What advice do you have for international students coming in terms of what the long game should be, and opportunities that they should be thinking of taking advantage of, and how they can get the most out of this opportunity to study in Canada?
Yes, I think that's a very good question, really, because it's very key. Because for me, I did benefit from someone sharing their experience about their journey from international student to, now he started as an international student. Now he's a founder of a tech company that has been, valued by Google, and
Oh, wow.
so it's big. And
Success story.
That's a very good success story. So I think that for international students coming in, sort of plan your path. And of course, we don't have all the cards. We won't know everything. But the best we can do that is within our control is to sort of plan and to say, plan strategically. Think about the opportunities that exist within the province that you're going to study. Choose a course that is relevant to that province. And whilst you are in school, think about the certifications that are relevant to that course and begin to volunteer, be engaged, connect on LinkedIn, engage strategically, and be in the place where conversations happen. You need to be there. Conversations happen. Don't just stay at home. So that by the time you're done with school, then you get a job. Lucky, hopefully you get a job, and you get the right job that fits your skill sets, and then you can push on to other things and sort of then move and navigate the system. That's really what I think.
Right, and I think I've heard you recommend this twice in this conversation, where you said come in with eyes open, looking out for the gaps in the community.
Very important.
And then plan to fill those gaps either in employment, or starting out a business that
absolutely
meets
absolutely.
those needs.
And Canada, it does seem that there's an enablement for businesses, small businesses who are trying to start out. And I think I don't have a business, but I know that there's sort of an enablement for businesses who are trying to, which is important.
Yes.
Eyes that see are important.
Eyes that see are important.
Yeah.
And also a community that supports small business.
So I have to see
are
community
very
that
important
supports.
as well. Yeah,
That's it. That's
which
really
is
key.
what Canada is. So that's definitely something to look out for.
Absolutely.
Okay. Studying abroad away from home would have impacted or shaped your global perspective on issues. Yay or nay?
Yes.
Okay. And in what way would you care to share?
I mean, it's interesting because I think, and I see the world, of course, we're constantly moving towards, we're learning every day. And it's interesting because now you see that you always knew, for example, if you're coming from my country, I never saw myself as a black man.
True.
I only saw myself as a man.
Yes. Period.
But now, I now realize I'm a black man. I'm very aware now, But then it's also shaped my global view to then understand the conversation that's been happening before that I saw on TV. Now I'm in the midst of those conversations.
Right. Experiencing some of those
Experiencing
things for
some of those
yourself.
things for myself, And also saying, okay, you know what, how do I navigate this? But also saying that there's sort of a mix of culture. And with the mix of culture comes a mix of opinions.
Yes.
A mix of how we do things and how we don't do things. And simple things like dating and how to navigate the dating scene. We won't talk about that here. But simple things
That's
like
interesting. Maybe we need to bring you back for part 2.
that. Simple things like that, how to navigate the dating scene across culture and from a global view.
Yes.
You then need to think about that because if you came into Canada and you want to navigate that geography and that system, you need to, there's a different view you must have.
Yes.
You can't have the same view that brought you in. So it's a different view. So I think that that's also a conversation to have. And, because you're going to have a difference of opinion. And what would happen is, this person says this person says that. And they're from two. You then have to now be able to handle complexity. Because it becomes more complex the more you deal with issues and the more you meet diversity.
Yes.
Is that it's not that these two are not good, it's that which is better. That's a tougher decision to make. Good and bad is easy to make.
Right.
But better or the best is then difficult across multiple options. And that's where...
And the best also sometimes depends on the unique situation and circumstance, isn't it?
At that time.
Right. At that particular time.
But the next time, another thing could be... So that's,
yes.
It's a lot of...
Yes.
So it's an issue.
One more question before we let you go. If you could give some advice to your younger self before younger Omon set out on this international student journey, what would that piece of advice be?
Get out early. Start early. If there's something you think you would do in the future, do it now. Don't delay. If you think it's ever going to be in your future, do it now. Even if it's something you would think you want to stop, something that you think you want to start, something you think you want to do more of. If you ever think it's something you want to do in the next 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, do it then.
So
possible.
take the leap early.
Take the leap
Bright
early.
and early.
It's important that you start out early. It's important. Because even with immigration, you better start out early.
I hear you on that one. Thank you so much for spending time with us at Community Updates today.
Thank you very much.
I've been talking to Omon Iyoriobhe, an international student of Cape Breton University. He has been shedding some light on the international student experience here in Nova Scotia. For more on this and other episodes of Community Updates, or if you have any topic that you'd like to discuss in the show, why not reach out to us at communityupdateNS@gmail.com. Until I come your way again next time, I am Modele Akintokun. Bye for now.